Lady Macmillan said to me that Kenneth had said to her after the premiere of MANON that this will be the ballet that I get remembered for. Whether he was happy with that or not happy with that, I don't know. And it actually has become the truth. Of course, Romeo and Juliet and Mayerling now, which is being done by many companies around the world, they're also very important ballets of the repertoire, but MANON has probably been the ballet that's been taken over the longest period of time with many, many companies around the world outside of the Royal Ballet. And I think its attraction is, well, it's not your average story. The MANON, the main character, is not actually the most likable character. Neither are any of the characters really in the ballet, but I think it's a ballet that it's still so current in today's situation. We're talking about poverty, we're talking about extreme wealth, we're talking about the trafficking of women, prostitution, all things that are still so relevant in today's society, and I think that's why it resonates so much still today. Well, the essence really is absolutely everything. The story is the story. The choreography, which is so much of the story, is actually in the choreography, in how it's danced. Of course, there is a huge amount of mise en scène, of interaction, not just between the main characters, but between absolutely everybody on stage. It's one thing that is so important to all of Kenneth's ballets, but this one in particular, that there have to be at least 10 different stories going on at the same time, apart from the main one that's happening in the middle, because we're talking about real life here. You know, nothing. It's not that everything stops because something's happening in the middle of the stage. So really, it's an amalgamation of absolutely everything. With here we'll be using the Georgiades set design. There are other designs that have been done over the years, but the Georgiades one really shows and demonstrates the difference between poverty and wealth, it's just a genius set design. It's not literal. We don't have an inn and a house and like one would see in something like Giselle. We have these rags at the back that represent the poverty, whereas everybody is in the courtesans, the prostitutes, the clients, everybody are in very elaborate costumes, and so we have this crass juxtaposition between rich and poor. And then the score, which has been re-orchestrated by Martin Yates about 10 years ago. And so they all have their value, and they're all vitally important. And I think that's one thing, you know, the music is not there to serve the dancers, the costumes are not there. You know, everything has to work together. It's a harmonious thing. For me, the ballet has so many aspects and so many parts. It's a ballet I grew up seeing when I was a student. It was a ballet I danced enormously throughout my career in many different productions around the world. And even today now, being on the other side of staging the ballet and teaching it and giving as much information as I can, I always learn something new, whether it's just from teaching it or whether it's actually from what new dancers bring to roles. So there's always a favourite bit, and it'll always be different because it will always depend on the people I'm working with. His style, it's not easy for dancers that haven't grown up with that style, because it's working on, it's something that shouldn't be lost, but in a way it is. It uses the entire body, the épaulement, the way one uses the footwork, the choreography also is not easy, but also, like I said before, the story is within the choreography. And sometimes it's difficult for dancers that haven't worked in that style before, that have only had a much more of just a classical basis. And whereas they're used to perhaps acting as if they're on stage and acting out to a public, and with Macmillan it's the complete opposite. It's letting everything happen through the choreography and being a character and playing that character exactly as that character would be in real life, so that nothing is over the top, everything is completely believable, and everything comes from in here. So I think that's the challenge, really, for anyone that approaches his works that haven't grown up with them.